Imagine losing everything, then watch how beautiful life becomes. Alright, settle in, because I'm about to tell you a story. Our story, that could flip your entire world on its head. This isn't some dry lecture, this is raw life. The kind that hits you like a freight train you never saw coming. Imagine this. 1 minute, you're standing tall, the sun's on your face. Everything you've ever worked for is right there, the house, the car, the career, maybe even the perfect relationship, the perfect health. You feel invincible, you feel secure, and then, in the blink of an eye, it's gone, all of it, poof, vanished. The bottom falls out, the rug is pulled, and you are left standing in the ruins. The wind howling through the emptiness where your life used to be. I've been there, we've all been there, or we will be. Maybe not the same exact way, maybe not the same exact things lost, but that feeling of utter devastation, of being stripped bare, of thinking, how can I possibly go on? That feeling? Oh, I know that feeling, and I'm here to tell you something you might not believe right now. Something that sounds completely insane when you're in that pit of despair. Losing everything. It might just be the greatest, most beautiful thing that ever happens to you. Seriously, I know it sounds crazy. Right now, maybe you're facing something similar, or you're terrified of it. You're clutching onto what you have so tightly your knuckles are white. The thought of letting go, the thought of losing it all, feels like a death sentence. But what if I told you that clinging on is exactly what's holding you back? What if the very things you're terrified of losing are obscuring a profound, breathtaking beauty in life that you can't even imagine right now? That's what we're diving into today. We're going to walk through the fire together. We're going to confront the worst-case scenario, the nightmare you play on repeat in your head. We're going to imagine losing it all, every single bit of it. And then, we're going to watch, truly watch, with open eyes, as life reveals a beauty you never knew existed. A beauty forged in the crucible of loss. A beauty that can never be taken away from you because it resides not in the things you possess, but in the person you become. This is about Stoicism, yes, but not the marble statue kind. This is the dirt under your fingernails, blood in your mouth, stand up and fight for your soul kind of Stoicism. It's about finding unshakable peace and profound joy, not in the absence of trouble, but right smack in the middle of it. Let me tell you about a moment that felt like the end of my world. It wasn't one big event, like a fire or a bankruptcy. It was a slow, agonizing dismantling. A business I'd poured my life into, watching it crumble, not because of one mistake, but 1,000 tiny, uncontrollable factors, market shifts, supplier issues, key people leaving. Each one a small chip away at the foundation. Simultaneously, a close relationship, one I thought was as solid as bedrock, started to fray, then tear, then finally snap. And my health? Let's just say my body decided it had had enough of my neglect and started staging a quiet, persistent rebellion. It felt like I was standing on a beach, and each wave was pulling away another piece of sand from under my feet. The more I tried to dig my heels in, the faster the sand eroded. I was fighting against the tide, using all my energy, all my will, and I was losing, miserably. I remember one night, sitting alone in the quiet house, the silence amplifying the screams in my head. The business was failing, the relationship was over, my body hurt. I looked around at all the things I owned, nice things. Things I'd worked hard for, and they felt meaningless, like decorations in a deserted theater. The sheer weight of it all was crushing. I felt like a failure. A complete, utter failure. My identity, my sense of worth, was tied up in these things that were slipping through my fingers. And that's when the truly terrifying thought hit me. If all this is gone, who even am I? What am I left with? This is where Stoicism stopped being just interesting philosophy I read in books and became a lifeline. It wasn't some magic spell, it was a brutal, honest mirror. It forced me to look at where I was placing my value. Where we tend to place our value. In things outside of us. Things that are, by their very nature, impermanent. Marcus Aurelius talked about this, didn't he? How little power we have over external events. How much suffering comes from demanding that the world conform to our expectations, to our desires. I was clinging to the idea that my happiness, my success, my identity, depended on the survival of that business, the continuation of that relationship, the perfect functioning of my body, and the universe, in its infinite, uncaring wisdom, was showing me just how wrong I was. It wasn't personal, it was just reality. The brutal, beautiful reality that life is change, life is loss, and life will happen to you, relentlessly, unless you learn to flow with it. The philosophical moment that stopped me in my tracks wasn't a sudden revelation accompanied by angelic choirs. It was quieter, more insidious. It was realizing, in the depth of that despair, that the pain wasn't just the loss of the things themselves. The deepest pain was the loss of the idea I had of myself. The story I told myself based on those things. I wasn't just losing a business, I was losing successful businessman. I wasn't just losing a relationship, I was losing loved partner. I wasn't just losing health, I was losing capable, strong individual. The Stoics talk about impressions, how we perceive things. And I realized I was letting my impressions, these subjective interpretations, dictate my entire emotional state, my entire sense of self. The events themselves were neutral. A business closes, a relationship ends, a body struggles. These are facts. But the suffering? That was me. That was my mind labeling these facts as catastrophic, failure, worthless. It was a profound, almost terrifying realization of the power I was giving away, the power to define my own reality, my own worth, based on things I didn't truly control. And the flip side of that terrifying realization was a spark, a tiny ember of hope. If I was creating the suffering with my mind, could I also alleviate it? Could I change my impressions? Could I find worth that wasn't dependent on the shifting sands of the external world? This realization wasn't a cure-all, not by a long shot. The pain was still real. The grief was still heavy. But it was like seeing a complex knot and finally understanding how it was tied. Now, the work began, the messy, difficult, everyday work of entangling it. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about understanding them, observing them without judgment, and refusing to let them dictate your actions or your self-worth. It's about focusing on what you can control, your thoughts, your judgments, your intentions, your actions. Everything else, the money, the status, the opinions of others, the health of your body, the economy, the weather, the past, the future, uncontrollable, indifferent, not inherently good or bad. They just are, and clinging to them, making your happiness contingent upon them, is a guaranteed path to suffering. Epictetus, the former slave who became a great Stoic teacher, knew this better than anyone. He had nothing but his freedom and his mind, and he found profound contentment. If he could do it, starting from absolute zero, maybe, just maybe, I could too, maybe we can too. The challenge wasn't just accepting loss, it was learning to function, even thrive. In its wake, how do you pay the bills when your income vanishes? How do you navigate loneliness when you've lost a primary connection? How do you face the mirror when the person you thought you were is gone? This is where Stoicism gets practical, brutally practical. It doesn't offer platitudes, it offers a framework for action. Focus on the next right step, not the whole staircase, not the mountain you have to climb, just the single, solitary step in front of you. What is within my control right now? I can't instantly fix the business, but I can make one phone call. I can't mend the relationship, but I can choose how I respond to a text. I can't cure my health issues overnight, but I can make one healthy meal choice, or go for a short walk. It's tiny, seemingly insignificant actions, guided by reason and virtue, that start to build a new foundation. It's not about grand gestures, it's about relentless, moment-by-moment choices. And the surprising thing? As I started doing this, focusing solely on what I could control, my effort, my attitude, my integrity in the face of collapse, the fear, the anxiety, the feeling of being overwhelmed, it didn't disappear entirely, but it started to loosen its grip. It was like turning down the volume on the screaming in my head. The external storm was still raging, but I was finding a quiet, unshakable center within myself. This shift in focus, from the uncontrollable chaos outside to the quiet power within, that's the breakthrough. That's the moment the narrative truly changes. It wasn't about getting back what I'd lost. It wasn't about recreating the past. It was about realizing that the most valuable things were the very things I couldn't lose. My capacity for reason. My ability to choose my response. My inner character. These weren't damaged by the loss. In fact, they were being forged, refined, strengthened by it, like steel in the fire. The loss wasn't a punishment, it was a test. An incredibly difficult, painful test, yes, but a test designed to reveal the true strength that lay hidden beneath the layers of comfort and complacency. And that's the first glimpse of the beauty. Not the superficial beauty of having things, but the profound, resilient beauty of being you, stripped of everything else, and finding that what remains is not weakness, but an incredible, untapped reservoir of strength and capability. It's a shocking, humbling, and ultimately, exhilarating realization. It changes everything. It makes you ask, if I can find this strength here, in the absolute worst case scenario, what else am I capable of? What else have I been missing? But this is just the beginning. Because imagining losing everything is one thing. Living through it, embracing it, and then actively seeking the beauty it reveals, well, that's a journey that goes even deeper. It forces you to question everything you thought you knew about happiness, success, and what truly matters. And the answers? They might surprise you, they might scare you, but I promise you, they will set you free. What if the emptiness left by loss is actually the space for true joy to grow? We just stared into the abyss, didn't we? We imagined the worst, felt the gut punch of losing everything, the job, the savings, the health, the relationship, the very identity we built piece by careful piece. And maybe, just maybe, you felt that tiny flicker of something else. That hint of the unshakable core beneath the layers. But let's be real, that flicker is easy to ignore when the sirens are still wailing. When the dust hasn't settled. When the sheer, aching emptiness is all you can feel. The Stoics had a word for the things outside our control. Adiaphora. Indifferent things. Money, health, reputation, possessions. They are neither good nor bad in themselves. It's how we use them. How we relate to them. That matters. And when you lose them, the challenge becomes immense. How do you find goodness? How do you find meaning? When all the adiaphora you clung to are gone. This is where the journey gets really interesting. And incredibly difficult. It's one thing to conceptually understand that external things are indifferent. It's another thing entirely to feel your stomach clench with panic when the bank account is empty. Or your heart ache with loneliness when you're suddenly alone. The philosopher in the ivory tower might nod sagely, but the human on the ground is hurting. And Stoicism, at its heart, is a philosophy for the ground, for the arena of life. It's not about becoming emotionless robots. That's a total misunderstanding. It's about becoming resilient humans. It's about feeling the pain, acknowledging it, but refusing to let it define you or paralyze you. It's about shifting your focus from the things you lost to the things you can still cultivate. The things that loss can't touch. The Stoic virtues, wisdom, justice, courage, temperance. These aren't abstract concepts. They are muscles you build through practice, through hardship. They are the tools you use to rebuild your life. Not just the external structure, but the internal one. Think about it. When you had everything, how much of your time, your energy, your mental bandwidth was consumed by maintaining it, worrying about losing it, comparing yourself to others who had more, the relentless pursuit of the next thing, the bigger thing, the better thing? It's exhausting, isn't it? It's like running on a treadmill that never stops, staring at a finish line that keeps moving. When you lose it all, the treadmill stops, abruptly, painfully, and in that sudden stillness, in that vast, terrifying emptiness, you are finally forced to look around, to look within, and that's where the beauty starts to reveal itself. It's a quiet beauty at first, easily missed if you're still mourning the noise and the motion. It's the beauty of simplicity, the beauty of presence, the beauty of realizing how little you actually need to survive. I remember walking through my house after everything had shifted. It wasn't empty, but it felt hollow. The expensive art on the walls, the fancy gadgets, the overflowing closets, they just sat there, silent witnesses to a life that was no longer mine. And one day, I just started clearing things out, not because I had to sell them, though some eventually went, but because they felt heavy, like anchors. Each item I let go of felt like a small release. A breath. And as the physical space around me simplified, something shifted internally too. My mind felt less cluttered. The constant hum of wanting more, protecting what I had, it quieted down. I started noticing things I hadn't seen before. The way the light fell through the window in the afternoon. The intricate pattern on a leaf outside. The simple pleasure of a warm cup of tea. These weren't things I'd ever paid attention to when I was caught up in the whirlwind of having. They were always there, but I was too busy looking past them, towards the next acquisition, the next achievement. This is where the Stoic practice of negative visualization, premeditatio malorum, becomes incredibly powerful. Not just as preparation for loss, but as a way to appreciate what you do have, right now. Seneca urged us to regularly contemplate losing the things we value most. Imagine your house is gone. Imagine your car is gone. Imagine your loved ones are gone. It sounds morbid, I know, but the point isn't to dwell in misery. The point is to realize, in that moment of contemplating loss, how precious those things are while you have them. And conversely, when you have lost them, the practice shifts. You no longer need to imagine. You are living it, and the power of the practice becomes, what can I still appreciate? What remains? My ability to see the light, taste the tea, feel the warmth, my ability to think, to choose, to act with intention, my connection to the fundamental elements of life, the air, the sun, the earth. These are the things that loss cannot touch. And in their simple, constant presence, there is a profound, unshakable beauty. This isn't about pretending everything is okay when it's not. It's about acknowledging the pain of loss while simultaneously opening your eyes to the reality that your life is not solely defined by what you've lost. It's defined by how you choose to live with what remains. And what remains is always, always, your inner self, your capacity for virtue, your connection to the present moment, and your place in the grand, indifferent, and ultimately, awe-inspiring cosmos. The wow moment here is realizing that the emptiness left by loss isn't just a void. It's a space, a clearing, a blank canvas. When you had everything, that canvas was covered, cluttered with the objects and demands of your possessions. When they're gone, the canvas is empty, yes, and that can feel terrifying. But an empty canvas is also an invitation. It's the space where you get to decide, consciously, deliberately, what you will paint next. What values will guide you? What actions will you take? What kind of person will you be? Now that the old markers of identity are gone? This is freedom. Painful, terrifying freedom, but freedom nonetheless. Freedom from the anxiety of maintenance, the fear of depreciation, the endless cycle of wanting. And in that freedom, there is an unexpected lightness, a buoyancy. Think about the times in your life when you felt most alive, most present. Was it when you were surrounded by all your stuff, worrying about its safety? Or was it perhaps during a simple moment in nature? Or a deep conversation with a friend? Or while creating something with your hands? Often, the moments of deepest joy, the moments that feel truly real, have very little to do with external possessions. They are moments of connection, creativity, presence, and contribution. And guess what? Loss doesn't take those away. In fact, by stripping away the distractions, it can make them even more vibrant, more poignant, more accessible. This is the subtle, profound beauty that emerges from the ashes of loss. It's the beauty of necessity, the beauty of resourcefulness, the beauty of community when you have to rely on others, and they on you. It's the beauty of discovering strengths you never knew you had because you were never forced to use them. It's the beauty of clarity, the crystal clear understanding of what truly matters when everything else has been burned away. When you lose everything, you gain the opportunity to build a life based on unshakable foundations, not on the shifting sands of external fortune, but on the solid bedrock of your own character and values. And that life, built from the ground up, deliberately, authentically, is a life of profound and resilient beauty. It's a beauty that can withstand any storm, because its source is not in the world outside you, but in the world within. We've imagined the fall. We've started to see the space left behind. But the real question is, what do we do with that space? How do we actively cultivate this new, resilient beauty? How do we build a life that loss can never truly diminish? That's where the true transformation lies. And it's closer than you think. The ultimate secret to finding joy when you have absolutely nothing left. We've walked through the fire. We've felt the sting of loss, the crushing weight of emptiness. We've even caught a glimpse of the quiet, unexpected beauty that can emerge in the stillness. But now, the real work begins. It's not enough to simply see the possibility of beauty after loss. You have to live it. You have to build it, actively, deliberately, every single day. And this is where Stoicism moves from contemplation to action, from theory to the messy, imperfect reality of everyday life. It's about taking those ancient principles and making them breathe, making them work for us, here, now, in our modern world of constant distraction and relentless wanting. The ultimate secret to finding joy when you have absolutely nothing left isn't really a secret at all. The Stoics knew it thousands of years ago. It's not about finding something new to fill the void left by loss. It's about realizing that the void doesn't need filling. It's about understanding that true, lasting joy doesn't come from having, but from being and from doing. It comes from cultivating your inner world, from acting in accordance with your deepest values, and from contributing to something larger than yourself. Think about the Stoic concept of eudaimonia. It's often translated as happiness, but it's a much richer idea. It's more like human flourishing, living a life of meaning and purpose, aligning your actions with reason and virtue. And the beautiful, radical truth is that eudaimonia is achievable regardless of your external circumstances. You can pursue wisdom whether you're a king or a pauper. You can practice justice in huge ways or small, everyday interactions. You can exercise courage whether you're facing down an army or just having a difficult conversation. You can embody temperance whether you're feasting or fasting. These virtues are always within your reach. They're the only true good. The only things that truly belong to you. The only things that cannot be taken away by the unpredictable hand of fate. So, when you've lost everything, the path forward isn't about scrambling to get it all back. At least not initially. It's about doubling down on what you can't lose. It's about asking yourself, how can I embody wisdom in this situation? How can I act justly towards myself and others? Where can I find the courage to face this challenge? How can I exercise temperance in my reactions and desires? These questions become your compass. They guide your actions in the absence of the old goals, the career ladder, the accumulation of wealth, the pursuit of fleeting pleasures. Your new goal is simple, profound, and eternally available: to live a virtuous life, right here, right now, with whatever you have left. This is the doing part. It's about shifting your focus from passive consumption to active creation. When you lose your job, the Stoic response isn't just passive acceptance. It's accepting the fact of job loss, but then actively and virtuously seeking new opportunities, or using the newfound time to learn a new skill, or helping others in your community. When you lose a relationship, it's accepting the pain of separation, but then actively focusing on cultivating self-reliance, strengthening other relationships, and channeling your energy into meaningful pursuits. It's about turning inward, identifying your core values, and then letting those values drive your outward actions. Let me tell you about another moment, a peak experience that happened not when I was at my highest, but when I was still deep in the process of rebuilding after the collapse. I had very little money, was living in a small, temporary place, and was still grappling with the emotional fallout. I volunteered at a local community garden. Dirty hands, sweat, simple physical labor. Most days, I would have considered this beneath me back in my successful days. But there, amongst the soil and the plants, something shifted. There was a simple, undeniable beauty in the process itself. Tending to living things, watching them grow, connecting with other people who were there not for status or money, but for the simple joy of creating something together. There was no pretense, no pressure, no judgment, just shared effort and the quiet satisfaction of contributing to something tangible and good. And in those moments, digging in the earth, feeling the sun on my back, sharing a laugh with a fellow volunteer, I felt a profound sense of peace and contentment that all the expensive possessions and achievements of my former life had never truly delivered. It wasn't happiness in the fleeting, excitable sense. It was deeper. It was eudaimonia. It was flourishing, right there in the dirt, with nothing but my hands and my intention. This is the unexpected beauty. It's found not in the grand palaces of our ambitions, but in the simple, humble acts of living virtuously. It's in the quiet satisfaction of doing your best, regardless of the outcome. It's in the strength you discover when you have to rely on your own 2 feet. It's in the genuine connection you forge with others when the superficial layers are stripped away. It's in the deep gratitude for the basic necessities of life: a roof over your head, food on your plate, a breath in your lungs, things you took for granted when you were busy chasing more. The Stoics didn't advocate for poverty or asceticism for their own sake. They were practical. Seneca was wealthy, but he regularly practiced periods of voluntary poverty to remind himself that his happiness didn't depend on his riches. This is a practice we can all adopt, even without losing everything. Periodically living with less, intentionally, can be a powerful reminder of how little we truly need and how much we already have to be grateful for. It inoculates us against the fear of loss and helps us appreciate the present moment. So, the impressive, memorable ending to this journey isn't a return to the way things were before. It's not about magically getting everything back and living happily ever after in the old paradigm. The true ending, the truly life-changing lesson, is the realization that you don't need to fear losing external things. Because the source of your deepest joy, your truest worth, and your most resilient strength lies within you. It lies in your character, your actions, your virtue. It lies in your ability to appreciate the simple, fundamental beauty of existence. Imagine losing everything. Feel the fear, the pain, the emptiness. Lean into it, and then, open your eyes. Look at what remains. Look at the space that has been created. And understand, with absolute certainty, that this is not an ending. This is the most incredible, challenging, and ultimately, beautiful beginning. This is your opportunity to build a life that is truly your own. A life based on unshakable principles. A life of profound meaning and resilient joy. A life so rich in internal wealth that external loss can only reveal its true, indestructible beauty. The ultimate secret is this: you already have everything you need to be happy and fulfilled. Right here, right now, within you. Loss doesn't take that away. It simply reveals it, and that, my friends, is the most beautiful revelation of all. Go now, look around you. What do you have? What are you afraid of losing? Now, for a moment, imagine it's gone, feel it, and then, look again. What remains? That is where your true life begins. And it is beautiful, more beautiful than you can possibly imagine.